to Beyond the Riverwalk. This is Kevin Barron. I'm your host, and tonight we are talking to three amazing ladies who start and operate a Facebook group called Fiesta Medal Maniacs. If you haven't seen the Facebook group, I'd suggest you go out there and check it out. We're going to hear all about the group. We're going to hear about the history of Fiesta Medals. We're going to hear about how you can find some of those hard-to-find Fiesta medals and why medals in the first place. Before then, I'd like to remind you about last week's show if you haven't heard it. Last week we talked to Justice Ken Wise. Justice Wise is a sitting judge here in Texas, and he hosts a podcast called Wise About Texas. I would recommend it highly. It's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. It publishes every 2 weeks, and it's lesser known and really interesting history of Texas. Being new to the region ourselves and new to the state, it's one of those shows that I just don't miss. So go back and listen to, in our case, a lesser-known history of San Antonio.
So we're the Fiesta Medal Maniacs, and our admins are
Cristina Lumbreras, Maggie Ibarra-Jimenez,
and Lillian Villanueva.
Well, thank y'all for being with us tonight. I was really interested when I found the group online and was really hoping to find out a little bit, first of all, about you guys, how you got involved in this, each individually, I guess, and maybe as a group, how the Facebook group got started in the first place, and kind of see where the conversation goes from there. So would you mind kind of talking a little bit about how you got involved in Fiesta Medals in the first place?
Wonderful. My name is Maggie again, and it started with Lillian and I. We both have a love for Fiesta, to first start off and foremost to say that. We thoroughly enjoy everything that Fiesta has to offer. And we would talk, day by day about our daily dealings when Fiesta was occurring, and we would discuss where we had got a medal from. Lillian would show me a medal that she obtained that day, and then I would show her a medal that I obtained that day, and we would say, well, where did you get that from, and what company made that, and what charity does it go to? And the conversation started with her and I, and it was almost a fun, I guess you could say a fun competition in a sense of how many we were both getting. And, we would be so thrilled and excited to tell each other what we had gotten and obtained within a couple of days prior to Fiesta. And that's kind of how it started in the beginning. We were late one night. I have a boutique, and Lillian would come over, and we were discussing how we just needed almost a resource page to discuss where we could obtain the medal, where it came from. Almost, someone gave a reference to a Wikipedia of medals, Fiesta medals. Uh-huh. And we almost wanted something that would tell everybody where you could find the medal, how you could purchase it, what charity your money was going to, and how, just the medal itself. We were so thrilled to have that. It went on probably for about 6 to 9 months, and we were just thrilled to get 10 followers, 100 followers. We were absolutely stoked to even have 500 followers. We then discovered, I like to use the word discover, Tina into the group with Lillian and I, and Tina brought a plethora of information for us. She helped us in all reality organize pretty much a very strict filing system, so to speak. We kind of joke about it because Lillian and I get too involved and excited about things, and Tina has to bring us back down to earth and organize us in that sense. We started to come up with a system into where we chronologically started to file each one that was being put out, each medal that was being put out as it was coming from that organization, business, or whomever it was that was putting it out. That was how we got to be so, I want to say, organized. I keep using that word organized because it really is functioning in that sense.
Well, I think you have to be really organized, because I'm one of the questions I had is, how many medals are out there? I mean, are we talking about thousands, tens of thousands?
Yeah. To date for 2016, there were, for 2016, how many medals? There was about 1,000 medals that were roughly, that were put out in 2016. To date, in just 2017, and we are talking about in February, we have 250 medals that are being put out that have already been produced, in hand, sold, and we are in February. I have to reiterate that because Fiesta really is quite a ways away.
Yeah, it's not until April, right?
Exactly.
So is there a medal season, so to speak? I mean, are they starting to be released maybe after the first of the year, or are people anticipating them in the holidays, or what?
Yes, we have kind of said that if you don't have your medal by December ready to launch in January, it's almost too late. Being the fact that manufacturers take a long time to actually produce the particular medal that you are needing at the time, and it's almost, in March you really can have your medal. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying in this launching season of everybody wants to show off their medal, this is the particular time that we suggest.
This is the time to do it.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that was one of my questions as well. Is like there are tons of announcements, and I would suggest first of all, if you haven't already and you're listening to the show here, I would go to Facebook, go to Fiesta Medal Maniacs, join the group, and you will be really surprised. I know I was, my wife was, at seeing just the constant flow of something new. I mean, it seems like every hour, every few minutes, someone's posting something new, telling you where you can find them. What the cost is, that kind of thing. And I guess that leads me to one thing you mentioned to ask, and that was about the charitable portion. So are all the medals that are put out somehow tied to a charity? Is that the tradition, or is that kind of expected?
Well, one of the things about Fiesta is it's a party with a purpose. When Fiesta got started, it was always with the conservation, putting money back into San Antonio. So that has been the concept of Fiesta Medals. Not to say that businesses don't put this out as well, and it is up to their choosing to do a donation of any kind to a charitable organization. But yes, most of the medals are linked to either a charitable organization or a business, and that business chooses to donate a portion of their their percentage of their sales to a charitable organization.
Okay. So if we back up a little bit for folks that may not be aware of it, either in town here or people that may be moving here that don't yet understand, because we try to focus the show on newcomers or people that are relatively new to the community that want to get more involved. What's the history of Fiesta Medals? Why medals in the first place?
Okay. Well, going back to Fiesta history, we believe there was King Antonio who in the parade was throwing out these coins, which were like a Fiesta medal, so to speak, early on, to the crowd. People were going crazy, kind of like in the Battle of Flowers when they were throwing the flowers as well. People were going crazy. I can honestly remember being a young girl going to the parades, and you just wanted whatever it is. Kind of like, I believe you said you were from New Orleans.
Right,
and
right.
The beads that are going. Everybody wants a bead. It's a little plastic jewel, but you want it. You want that particular necklace for some reason. It's being thrown, it's being given to you, and it's something that you can say that, a Fiesta member gave you.
Right.
So that is where originally it started. It has progressed so much so that a Fiesta medal is a representation of either that charitable organization or that business that it's coming from. The artwork that is coming out on these Fiesta medals is unbelievable. It truly is. They're theme oriented. The artwork is just unbelievable. When you look at these things, you're intrigued. You're looking at it. It's almost, honestly, there's a few this year that almost look like jewelry. That's how unique and amazing they are.
One of the things that surprised me was how detailed and how much fine detail they can get into these things. Because
Absolutely.
They're not very large in a lot of cases, right?
Absolutely. They're not. Usually, the biggest, are going 2.5 inches, 2 inches actually, but they are getting bigger this year. I am going to admit that. They're getting bigger. They're getting, the game is, they're heavier. It's one-upping every single time. And we're thrilled at it. It is just an amazing phenomenon that has happened in San Antonio.
That makes it a lot more exciting, that's for sure, because every year it improves.
It does, absolutely.
Well, when you think back, okay, so King Antonio, I believe you said, originally?
Correct.
So what year was that? When did this actually get started? Do you have an idea?
Okay, now you're going to stump me on that.
Uh-oh.
Now you're gonna make
I don't know, so it's not a quiz.
We believe it was in 1953 when this originally all started to get crazy in that aspect.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long tradition. It's longer than I was thinking for some reason in my head. I was thinking it was more like the 80s, but yeah, you're talking about another 30 years.
No. It goes far back. Definitely goes far back. But it has evolved. I mean, I am going to admit to you that this whole Fiesta thing, just as Lily and I discussing, something as simple as what we are doing now, again, bringing Tina in, who completely changed the game for us and got us to be more organized. Each one of us play an active role in this group that we have formed, and we all play such a role that is why it runs like such a well-oiled machine. You have somebody who's organized. You have somebody who's just functioning in every aspect.
Well, can we talk a little bit about that? Because all three of you are administrators for the group. So, and there's obviously a group behind that, not just the Facebook group. So what roles do you all play? How do you work together throughout the year, and especially at this time of year?
I jokingly told someone the other day, I wake up with these ladies and I go to bed with these ladies. We have a group text that we are constantly texting each other, sending pictures. Did you do this and did you do that? We do have professional jobs. Mm-hmm. We have homes and families that we also have to maintain. So yes, it is crazy in what we do, but it is a passion. And that's one thing that we do all have in common, is that we have a passion for what we're doing.
Well, in thinking about your own collections, that may be, to me, I'm wondering how many each of you have, and is there a number that comes to mind, or is there maybe, do you each focus on different themes, for example? Or
yes, Lillian Villanueva was featured in San Antonio Magazine as one of the collectors of the most Fiesta medals in the November issue. Okay. She has an amazing collection, and it was featured, and a photo op was in it and everything. It was pretty awesome.
That's pretty neat. So in y'all's perspective, how long have each of you been doing this? Is this a relatively recent fashion, or has it been there for a while?
Lillian and I have had a collection going for quite some time. I've had a collection, I want to say probably for about 10 years now. And Tina actually just started her collection.
Yeah. So I didn't have or get a Fiesta medal till about 2 years ago. So when I was 35, I got my first Fiesta medal. And I lived all my life in San Antonio, born and raised, and I just never got one. I don't know why. But I wanted, somehow, some way, somebody had posted Bill Miller's medal on their Facebook page, so it ended up being on my wall. And my son was 2 years old at the time, and he loves Bill Miller's. I mean, who doesn't? So I was like, okay, well, we're going to take him to the King William Fair Parade. And so I said, you know what, let me get him this medal. He's going to look super cute with it. So here I go, all unknowing about Fiesta medals. I drive up to Bill Miller's and I say, can I have your Fiesta medal? And they're like, we're sold out. And I'm like, what? How can you be sold out of a medal? Like, what is this? And I literally drove to like 3 more Bill Miller's, and they were all sold out. Wow. And but the last one, the cashier says, I have this Laguna Madre, which is their sister restaurant. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll take that, but I still want the other one. So my mother-in-law somehow found it at a Bill Miller's near hers. And so I had 2. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do with 2? I need more. So I started searching myself.
It can get quite addicting.
So I kept searching just like businesses that my son likes, Chick-fil-A, the zoo, scrolling their walls, asking people. And I think my first year, I ended up with 30. And it seemed like a lot, but then I had them all on me, on my sash when I went to the parade, and people were like, oh my God, you have so many medals.
That is one thing. They're attention grabbers at that.
And so many other people had so much more, and I was like, how did they get those? And a friend had sent me the Fiesta Medal Maniacs page after the Fiesta year in 2015. And I saw the page. I loved it. I was like, I'm going to be so much better prepared for 2016. And I was on a mission. And in 2016, I think I got like 350 medals.
Wow.
So I think I definitely upped my game.
I would say so.
After that.
My goodness. Yeah. So, okay, I'm picturing and having that many in my house. How do you do you display them? Do you categorize them and you put them in storage? What do you do from year to year?
Well, there's so many ways to do them. After Fiesta is when people start to get creative in how they want to display them on their shelves or in frames. But during Fiesta, people get very elaborate in how they want to display them, physically on them. So sashes are a huge thing during Fiesta. So it's something that drapes over from shoulder to hip or from shoulder to shoulder, actually. Vests are a huge thing that people like to wear, and they're all pinned on. And yes, it is extremely heavy.
Oh, I can imagine.
But again, the name of the game as well is trading. Just as Christina said that she had 2, you always want to have a backup because there's that one medal that you didn't get that was across town. So you have that extra medal on you and you have it displayed on your vest or on your sash. And someone says, hey, I'll trade you for this particular medal, and in your mind you're saying, I didn't get that medal, I need that medal.
That's your strategy.
Yes, that's almost like a strategy that you have to have so that you can obtain the medal that you weren't able to get.
So when you're walking around, you've got in the back of your mind a short list of things that you're trying to identify, it sounds like.
Exactly. How can I obtain?
Besides trying not to lose them.
That's right. Okay,
Exactly.
So you talked a little bit about how you found the ones last year. I think it was Tina, right?
Yeah.
That was talking. Yeah. So what are some other sources? How do people find them? You talked about businesses actually having them and releasing them this time of year and not-for-profits having them. Do you have to go to the locations, or are there central places where people meet, trade, or sell?
Well, this is Lillian, and I started my extensive collection in 2010 when I was unofficial royalty for Fiesta.
Okay.
I was a Duchess. And so I started going to events, and all these events had like all these awesome medals. And, once you attend the event, you get a medal. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So from there on, that just made the hunt even more better because, I want to go to this event, that event, that event. And, the more elaborate the event, the more elaborate the medal was.
What we also suggest, and we said this on the page as well, it's, of course, with San Antonio being the size that it is hard to obtain the medals that you want, especially when they're across town. We always suggest to get a medal buddy. What a medal buddy is your friend who will, on their lunch hour or wherever it is that they are, will be able to obtain a medal for themselves and a medal for you. So that way you as well will be hunting for a medal and you can do your trading with your medal buddy. It helps to have a medal buddy just to be able to obtain. And of course, this is something that you ask your family, hey, when you go to Bill Miller's or when you go out to eat, they have a medal. Can you pick that up for me? It's just, it beats having to run around San Antonio trying to accumulate all of your medals.
And it also helps too when you have one friend living on one side of town and another friend living way on the other side of town. That way you connect and then you can get for each other as a medal buddy.
That's a great idea. I never would have thought of that. I mean, you think about family members, but actually connecting with someone maybe that's part of the group as well on Facebook.
Absolutely.
Lives in a certain part of town.
That's why we're maniacs.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're very organized and passionate maniacs, so I guess that's the best way to be. Well, one of the questions, I guess, that I've written down to talk to, because I've got a lot of questions. We'll get through, I guess, as many as y'all have time for. But in terms of the whole idea of collecting, of identifying things. How do you know, I guess maybe a certain organization that you're going to follow up on? Are you going to look for, maybe that, like you mentioned, I think Tina mentioned the zoo. So if the zoo has a different one every year, do they have one every year that you want to collect and make sure you have a chronological history, or do they have many every year? How do you anticipate who's going to put what out, or is it always a surprise?
Well, this is the thing about the Fiesta Medals, is they are yearly put out, and you do want the year on it. At the end of the year, there is actually a medal weighing that the Fiesta store puts on.
Wow.
And it's only per year. So it's a weigh-in is what it is. So every medal that you have obtained in, say, 2017 gets weighed in a big bowl to see how many medals you actually, not quite medals, it's more weight of the medal. So yes, every year a organization puts out, but the crucial thing is the year on it. So that way you have a history of every year that you went to the zoo and you got a medal from 2000. I mean, there's medals out that I know I have some 90 medals from, during the 90s. And so there's something that, there's some history there that you can remember of that place or that organization that you went to.
And the thing too is that you can see when they first made their first medal, how it was compared later in the years going through, how much more elaborate it got.
Definitely.
Now, for people that aren't aware of it and maybe listening from elsewhere in the country, or like I said, maybe deciding to move to San Antonio or just got here and trying to understand all of this excitement, what's a typical cost if you're going to go out there and purchase one from, whether it's a not-for-profit or a business, hopefully with the proceeds, or some portion of it going to some charitable organization? What can you expect to pay for an individual medal?
A basic medal should cost about $5. They have, because of the demand, they have gone up in price. Some are at 10. We like to cap things at 10 just because that is like a reasonable, especially the maniacs that we are constantly purchasing these. But we have seen medals up to $20, $15. And that, again, is preference on what you would want to purchase. But we roughly like to say 5 to 10.
Okay. The other question that pops to mind, we talked a little bit about where to find things and how to find them. I have a brother who is a big fisherman, and if you ask him where, he goes to fish, he's not going to tell you. But maybe you'll share a little bit. So do you have any favorite sources for whether it's trading time or whether it's, to actually purchase certain organizations that you always want to connect with because they have great designs?
Are you talking about manufacturers, or are you talking about actual places to find medals?
No, the actual places to find them, yeah.
Okay. So what we suggest, because of how much this whole medal maniac has grown, there are so many great trading events and so many places to where you could purchase. We are actually having our own event on the 13th. On the 12th. Forgive me. On the 12th, we are having a Maddie Mac boutique where you can come and sell medals, and you can actually, there's going to be trading sections where people are going to come and gather. This is one of many events that are happening from now until Fiesta. So that is one thing that went, and again, if you go to our page, we are a resource page where every single event that we get information on, we post, so that way you can obtain more of your medals.
Okay, so if people just kind of want to make some notes, again, it's Fiesta Medal Maniacs. Go to Facebook and check it out. I believe you have to request to join, but it's almost an automatic response, at least from our end.
It's automatic. It's a like. It's a fan page.
So that's awesome. Well, I guess one thing, too, and now we talked about this time they're releasing them, or this time of year. There are opportunities now, even before Fiesta, to go and trade or to purchase new things. What happens, you mentioned a little bit after Fiesta in terms of display. What happens after Fiesta in terms of trading? Are people still interested in doing that now to, at that point to complete collections, or does it die down maybe until the next year?
It goes on even up until October of still selling and trading. It is crazy because there are some people that maybe they couldn't, they were being disciplined enough and saying, no, we need to save for the family vacation. They go on their vacation, they're back from their vacation, and they say, you know what, I was never able to get this particular medal. And on our page, we always share people who are trying to sell, particular medals. And sure enough, you'll be able to obtain it. That's the crazy thing about this, is that if you don't get it during Fiesta, somebody somewhere will be able to sell it later for you.
Okay, so just constantly, you just be aware, I guess, if you're trying to complete a collection.
I don't think we ever took a break last year. The most maybe that the page was very slow, it might have been a whole 3 weeks, and then it started getting crazy with people trying to sell their duplicate medals. Because once after Fiesta's over, they go through other medals, they find duplicates, and okay, well, then I have this one, and then, but,
realizing that they have two and that they need to go ahead and sell the other. So, and maybe obtain one that they weren't able to have gotten before.
I don't know that we've mentioned this yet, but if someone's thinking, well, how many people could be a part of this group? How many people are that into the medals? How many members do you have right now?
At this moment, we have 8,000 followers.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember.
We believe it's growing, 8,077 to be exact. But we do believe we have not reached all of the maniacs that are out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. And I think good for good, bad, or indifferent, I think you've created another one, because my wife has already been on the page. And has requested.
It's very addicting, I'm telling you. Well, it is extremely addicting.
Well, I was going to tell you, she is actually, and she believe it or not, she sent me a text message to make sure that I mentioned this on the show tonight.
We also have an Instagram page.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good too.
Yes, we have hit all social media, so you can find us anywhere.
And is it on Instagram? Is it Fiesta Medal Maniacs as well?
Correct, it is.
Okay. Yeah, no, my wife, Melissa, said that she has pre-ordered the Spurs Yoda medal.
Isn't that adorable? Yeah.
That she is interested in trying to find the is it Shiloh's or Skilos? I keep the Shiloh's. She's interested in finding the 100th anniversary one and the San Antonio Zulu Association medal.
You need to get a medal, buddy.
Yeah. So some of these harder to find? I mean, I would assume that they're produced in different varying amounts depending on the
thing. When people tell you, when stores or organizations say we have a limited quantity, you believe them, because we always talk about the one design. There's always one design every year that you gasp when you see it.
It's the Holy Grail.
We call it the Holy Grail. And last year there was a Holy Grail and there was a limited amount. And it was an absolutely just beautiful, we talk about it to this day. Tina Drain made a beautiful medal, and it was just, we saw one go on eBay for $200.
Wow.
Because that's how beautiful it was.
What was the subject of it? What was the theme?
It was just a bumblebee.
It was a bumblebee.
Her favorite thing is bumblebees. And the story behind it was that her husband had given her, I'm not sure if it was an anniversary gift or a birthday gift, and her card had a bumblebee on it. And she just loved the bumblebee that was in the picture, and she had the medal made from that.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I would imagine that
it was a great design. It was a beautiful design.
I was going to say, I'd imagine that there are several that, may come out from an organization that are themed around what they do or that kind of thing. But are there many of them out there that have some kind of special story behind them, and that's what makes them special to you?
Absolutely. There are so many. Of course, you see a lot of themed medals that are, Star Wars is really big this year. They're just, sugar skulls are always a hit for Fiesta.
Yeah.
Just everything that has to do with the culture. We absolutely love that. And every medal has a story behind it, to be quite honest with you. It's hard to pinpoint one particular one.
And there's actually one medal that this lady produces every year in memory of her son, which passed away during Fiesta.
Wow.
And it's the famous penguin medal. And she trades with whoever, but she always, every year she puts in memory of her son, which passed away during Fiesta. And the penguin story is because he just loved penguins. Yeah. So every year her medal has a penguin on it.
So they commemorate something every year.
Yeah, it's a different penguin style.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's a really touching way to remember someone.
Personal medals out there that people just make, for themselves just to trade. for the medals.
And you cannot purchase them. That's the great thing about this, is that you can't purchase them. You have to obtain a medal and train it, or you yourself as the organization. Wow. Exactly. That's the fun part of it. I will say that when you trade with someone in a medal, there's no money exchange. It's a trade for a trade.
And that's a tradition. Has that been going along for a long time as well? Is that a long tradition?
It originally started. It was a trade for a trade.
Okay. And people just learned that that's the custom and to continue to do that.
Correct.
Just like your logo has, that would make a perfect medal.
Yeah. You need to start considering that.
Well, we've sent it off to 3 different companies because I was curious as what the turnaround time was. Could we actually do it? And we got a price on 100 of them. And I don't know, that seems like a small
number. More than that.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems like a small number.
Yeah,
but
we always say start with 200 or 250.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's good advice right there.
That's big. Got to think big. See, and that's where Tina always has to bring me down because I'm always over the top. And Tina says, okay, well, let's look at the numbers.
Hey, start with 5,000 and then work your way up.
Exactly.
Well, we thought about doing it just as a thank you for people like you that are willing to work with us and be on the show, or just
I think you should.
Whatever. And it was something that I posted it to the group, and I really appreciate the feedback I got from the members of the group there, because the first thing that 2 or 3 people said was you have to put the year on it because the initial idea didn't have the year on it.
Crucial.
Yeah. So that was like, okay, well, that makes a whole lot of sense. So right now we've got a company that's willing to do it and that can have them produced by the end of February. So we've just got to pull the trigger on it, and I've been really interested. And
I will say we have put resources on our page. We've even done an etiquette section. I mean, we have done everything, again, giving props to Tina. We have put everything on there that you would need to get information, resources, how to get a medal, how to get a medal made. There are tons of manufacturers, local manufacturers here in San Antonio. So it's the Wikipedia. I hate to say it like that, but we really are a great resource page.
So these are permanent posts that are tied to the page, right?
Correct.
Okay, so people can just go there and start looking for those permanent posts.
Yes.
Or probably do a search or something through there.
Helpful hints and tips.
And Instagram.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, and go to Instagram as well. Oh, wow. Well, what advice do you have for someone that's never collected? Now, I've got to admit, we do have a few from last year, but not many. What advice do you have for people that have never been involved, but that want to be involved and want to, I guess, just kind of start small, but maybe find things, to actually get involved in this? Should they attend an event? Should they just pick up some things? Like, I keep referencing Tina because you mentioned things about picking up something for your son, and I think about my daughter. You go to places that maybe just interest you. What advice do you have for newbies to this whole thing?
So the first place, if you're new to this, and you're going to feel overwhelmed because there's just so many and they're so beautiful and you just want them all. But the first place you should probably start is the Fiesta store. It's on Broadway. You can go there, and because all the ones that are at the Fiesta store, 100% of the proceeds go to the charities that they're having.
Okay.
So you can take a look. They're right there. They have so many. And that way you just have, one place where you can see as many as you want that they have there. And that way, you can start there and you can start small. And then, follow our page and then start collecting just, something that is important to you, whether it's the charity, whether it's Alzheimer's or, charity for children or animals, and then go from there. Usually you'll kind of pick up right away which ones are going to be the most popular, something that's, either Star Wars or Spurs, and then you may want to buy a double of that one, just so that way you can have it in the back of your pocket in case they sell out and someone's looking for it and they have a medal that you need. It's really easy to bring that out and trade it and get one that you really were searching for. But really start small, kind of pace yourself because it is very early. You will have sometimes, you're going to have a roller coaster. You're going to be so happy, so excited, and then you're going to feel overwhelmed, and then you're going to be like, oh my God, I just bought so many. But then you're going to be walking around so proud during Fiesta with all that, we call it jingle jangle.
I would like to say this. If you are new to this and this is your first year, go to to one event with your child, at least one event. Buy a medal, take a picture. That is going to remind you of that particular event, whether it be King William, the carnival, whatever event it is. That is going to commemorate that event and your first medal. Next year, you can graduate and get 2, get 10, get 20. But I always say take it easy in the beginning because it can get overwhelming.
And another thing, too, is sometimes people that are selling the medals will sometimes put them 2 for like $10 or 1 for $6, and it's best to, or 2 for $15, and it's best to get both medals. At least you have an extra one. Then we have one to trade for one that you might really want that somebody doesn't have.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Are there any from last year? I want to pick your brains a little more. Are there any from last year that you didn't get that you're still looking for now?
Yes.
I'm looking for the Spurs lady from last year.
I've been trying to track down Chief McManus. He always eludes me for the last 2 years. I have not been, and it's a small one and it's simple. And I've seen a lot of cops like during the Fiesta events that have it on them, and I just walk up to them like, "So are you trading that?" And they look at me like, "Step away." So I'm determined to see if I can get it this year because he has one every year, and it's always just either his badge and his name on it with the year. But I don't know. I just feel like I need it in my life so I can make this medal circle complete, and I can move on to another medal that keeps eluding me. But that's definitely one that's on my list that I have not been able to get.
We all have that one chasing unicorn that we need.
That's right. The white whale, huh?
It's crazy because when I emptied out my box this year, and I was going through my medals, and I said, "Oh, I wanted that one. I have it. Oh, I wanted that one. Oh, I got it." It just gets. I got over 325. 325 or 500.
I think you had 500.
500.
Wow. Oh, that makes me think of when I was a kid. When you're all growing up and you get up on Christmas morning and you just want to put everything out in front of you and look at it and enjoy it.
It's crazy. It's just crazy.
But here you get to do it every year, so that's even better. Oh, well, we really appreciate you. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. And if there are people out there, and I'm sure there are, that are interested in this, the first place to go is Facebook to Fiesta Medal Maniacs, and then also on Instagram because there'll be lots of photos out there as well. But there are tons of photos on Facebook, and there are tons of permanent resources out there. And I would suggest that. Are there any other, last-minute tips or tricks that you want to share with the listeners?
Just follow us.
We'll guide you. We'll hold your hands.
All the information is on the page.
If you have any questions, there's also a send message to us, and we can answer all your questions.
Yeah, and y'all are always really responsive. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for all the work you put into doing this page. It's more than a page; it's a community, right? 8,000 people.
It is. It's a great project that we have all been involved in.
Well, I feel privileged to have talked to y'all, and because y'all have really built something special, I think, in the city. And for people that are new here, people that have been here a while, still want to get involved, this is a great way to do it, especially this time of year and throughout the rest of the year, it seems. So thank you, Maggie and Lillian and Tina.
Appreciate you so much.
We had a great
appreciate
time.
it. Well, and maybe this is something we can do every year. We'll see. If that's something y'all are interested in, maybe we can do an annual update of what's coming and what to expect.
I was going to say, we're not even near Fiesta. We might have to do something to recap everything that we have had, so far.
I think that would be a great idea. So let's stay in touch.
Yes,
sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. This is Beyond the Riverwalk. It's to help you find things to do and places to see in and around San Antonio. Whether you're new or you're a lifelong resident, there's so much to do in this city that it's just amazing. As new residents ourselves, my wife and my family and I, we just every weekend, we're kind of flabbergasted with all the things happening online that you can find events and things to do. So this is just one of the very small things, but it's a very, very major part of people's lives in the city. So get involved, become part of San Antonio, and you'll never regret it. So thank you again for being here, and we'll see you all soon.
And thank you.
Thank you.
We're the Fiesta Medal Maniacs.
We're the Fiesta Medal Maniacs.
All right.